From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America. And more importantly, God bless our victims. All right, my beautiful people. It's nice to see you this beautiful Saturday. I was up literally until like 3 or 4 o'clock this morning, just working. And well, some of it was work. Some of it was just goofing off. I got to be honest with you. That time of morning, we were like almost delirious. the whole team. So I'm a little exhausted this morning, but I want to provide you guys your morning update because everybody's been really highly invested in the Sebastian Rogers case. This is the boy, the 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And since then, nobody really knows what's going on. And we're just trying to piecemeal information together and find out heads or tails as to what happened with Sebastian Rogers. And this is taking us down a lot of twists and turns. It's making us look in the background of Christopher Proudfoot, his wife Katie Proudfoot, which is the mother of Sebastian Rogers. We're even looking into Seth Rogers, which doesn't appear to really hold a whole lot of water because he worked at a jail. He worked the night shift at the jail. He is on camera. He was 45 minutes away from the house. There is no possibility, even though law enforcement hasn't cleared anybody from this investigation, it's very highly unlikely that it could possibly be Seth. I mean, the only option that they would have for Seth to be a responsible party for this is if he hired somebody. And, you know, he was so excited about having his son come live with him. I couldn't imagine that he would do anything to prevent his son from coming to live with him. We learned from Katie early on in the investigation, before the families all started fighting and distancing themselves from one another. They, all worked together, and Katie described Seth as being, Sebastian's biggest champion, never missed a school function, any type of, contest or any kind of competition that he was in. He did a lot of different things, from running and everything like that. And so his father was always there, rooting him on the sidelines, So now we're learning, because Katie's kind of jammed up, that, oh my God, Seth might have hurt him. And, then she starts, talking about court documents and stuff like that, the allegations that she submitted through the court records that Seth adamantly and just denied. This case is kind of taking a turn, and I do believe it is taking the turn from the missing person over to the criminal investigation. I personally believe they've been doing dual investigations this entire time. I truly believe that they've been blowing smoke up some of the public's butt in their pursuit to preserve the investigation. I don't believe that those light sources are a dump truck, that they're trying to state to the world that there are dump trucks. We did an overlay, my friend Guidance which is one of my mods, prepared a video, and it really does clarify this light source. And you can clearly see the light source moving from the back of the Proudfoot's house toward the empty or lot of the other residential community that's being built. You could clearly see it. It's in the grassy knoll of the house. There's no way, there's no possibility of a dump truck or a garbage truck being there. There's no possibility of a garbage truck being there. So now you got to look at, is it possibly an angle from the other roadway? There's no possibility. When you look at the area, the angle that it's going through, there's all trees. There's trees. You can't even see the road. So they wouldn't even be able to see the truck from that angle, even if it was coming up the bend. So the whole thing about, the only other thing I can think of is unless Seth Rogers was previewing a completely different video, there is no way the videos that we've been working with and we've been analyzing is possibly a garbage truck. It is clearly a light source that moves from the back of the Proudfoot home toward that other community. It's clear as day. It is clear as day. So another thing that I worked, many of you know that I love TikTok. I've got, almost 140,000 viewers on here, and we're constantly growing. But I also am on YouTube. Oh, thank you, Cookie. I am also on YouTube, and I have a decent sized platform over on YouTube, about, 26,000 subscribers over there. And we watched this thing called, on YouTube, his name is called The Deceptive Detective. And while I don't necessarily agree with all these analysis, especially body language experts, language experts and behavior experts and stuff like that, those are, in my opinion, you're using a lot of different statistical behaviors, applying different types of theories. But I think there's room for, outliers or things like that. So even though I do use them as a guide, and I do get a wealth of information from those types of people with these extra experiences, like the body language, behavioralists and stuff like that, love them. But one of the things we learned on that is that most people, when they're lying, they use the number 3. I was with 3 people. It was 3 p.m. It only took me 3 minutes. Oh, about 3 miles down the road. There's just something with the 3. Not that they are lying to you if they say the number 3. It's just the higher probability. Just like he said, the number 7 is the favorite number of the majority of people. So, and it just so happens my number is 7. So I'm like, okay, this resonates with me. And so when you're sitting there talking about this whole situation and the story that we heard from Katie Proudfoot and Christopher Proudfoot, how many times did we hear the number 3, right? We heard the number 3 on 3 separate occasions, 2 at the beginning and 1 introduced later down the road. For example, how long did it take from the time that she woke up to call Christopher Proudfoot that morning after she realized Sebastian was missing? About 3 minutes. How many hours was she on the phone with Christopher Proudfoot before she went to bed? About 3 hours. So using this 3 as a potential or a possibility of her being or deceptive or speaking deceptively, lying, right? Would be in those cases. What activities were going on during both of those situations? A telephone call. So was she lying about calling Chris Proudfoot that morning? Was she, or the purpose of why she was calling Chris Proudfoot that morning? And why was she calling and speaking to Chris Proudfoot for the 3 hours the night before? My mods and I have gone over a lot of situations where the 3-hour phone call could be, because, I have one mod, at least one specific mod that absolutely believes it was Katie Proudfoot. She believes that Katie Proudfoot while she was out, she had a couple drinks, she came home, she snapped, something set her off with maybe Sebastian's behavior. Maybe he doesn't understand. I don't know. And believes that the 3-hour call is her freaking out, trying to get Chris to come from where he's at to come to the house to help her do whatever she is. So that is a theory that's being developed. None of these theories really hold water yet. We're developing them. And then comes the contention, I think, that we all had. Now, bear with me, and you guys can do a 1 or 2 if you agree with this. One being that we are definitely concerned, and two being that it's a nothing burger. One is, this is the question, what about the home surveillance system, right? That has been, we're all been scratching our heads saying it does not make sense that this woman works for Brink's security system. She's an installer, and she doesn't have a security system in her almost $700,000 home. By a show of ones and twos, one being that you believe it, and two believing you don't. I'd like to know, do you believe that she did not have a security system in her home, or do you think she's liar, liar, pants on fire? Two? Very good. One, thank you, Melinda, for being honest. I want you guys to hear something. This is something I didn't pay attention to. Absolutely did not pay attention to up front because we were so gripped with emotion. Did you guys know that Nina, there's a interview out there from Chris Proudfoot's ex-wife, Nina Gomez, the one that he's fighting with in court? Listen to what she says. It freaked me out. I want you guys to hear this in its entirety. This is not the full interview. This is a clip of a section of the interview, but I think you need to listen to it. Open your ears, guys. You're wanting to hear this.
He's like, Nina, I gotta tell you something. And I was like, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to tell me that the trial, we're not going to go to trial, that everything is going to be done with, and we don't need to worry, and we can, we don't need to do all this stuff. I mean,
I want to make sure everybody knows that Chris Proudfoot was going to trial in about a week from the day that Sebastian Rogers disappeared. And if you guys remember, one of the reasons why Alec Murdaugh allegedly, he was convicted of it, but the motive behind it was he was trying to garner sympathy because he himself was going to court and was about to have to pony up financial documents. Chris Proudfoot was about to go to court to find out, and this was not a hearing, guys. He was about to go to trial as to whether he can have his daughter or not. And so just so happens, 1 week before trial, one of the children in his own home disappears. I think that that's important.
That's what I'm thinking. And then he tells me, I got to be open and honest with you. And then
For those that are just coming in, what you're listening to is Nina Gomez. Nina Gomez is the ex-wife of Christopher Proudfoot.
It was like for 6 or 7 seconds, and I'm like, where? I was like, what?
Okay, and I'm going to pause that because Musician just asked a question, and Musician just asked about the aunts. Is it true he was with his aunt, or is that rumor? That's the other 3 that if you were just here, I talked about the number 3 and how it's associated with lying and stuff like that. Well, she talked about having calling her husband within 3 minutes of Sebastian going missing, which could be deception. She talks about having a 3-hour conversation on the phone with Chris the night before, which could be deception. And where's the other 3 come in that I was talking about? Katie added 2 aunts and a cousin to the story, 3 additional people. So we do have some 3s coming up in this whole entire investigation, and it's always around the phone calls and Sebastian that last day before he disappeared. So that's that. And then of course we have Nina, and Nina is the ex-wife of Christopher Proudfoot, and she's explaining what Chris told her, how he told her Sebastian was missing. So that's what we're listening to now. So stick around. We're going to listen to a spot on here that I'm going to stop and let you guys listen to, and it's going to come back to the camera conversation.
So then at that point in time, he tells me that Sebastian went missing. And I was speechless. I have to say, I was speechless. And then I went into saying, well, what happened? Like, how did he go missing? Like,
so she's asking a very specific question on how Sebastian went missing. And, Chris should have probably said, I don't know, right?
What happened?
Because he wasn't there. They don't know what happened. He hasn't been there since February. But let's listen to what he says to Nina.
And he said, well, he went missing between 12:30 and 6 a.m. And I'm like,
how do they know that he went missing between 12:30 and 6 a.m.? I mean, and some people say, well, he knows what time his wife went to bed. Well, does he? He knows what time he got off the phone with her.
It's thinking to myself, and then, like, that's crazy. And I said, don't you have security cameras, Christopher? I said, you have security cameras in your house? Don't you? And he paused. He didn't say anything.
Kind of funny. He never answered Nina. Because you got to remember, Nina is the mother of Faith. We know Faith did go and stay with her father. We know that Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot had a bedroom specifically for Faith. So I started thinking, why would Nina think that they have security systems and security cameras? Because she knows where she's sending her daughter. They probably had conversations before. So do I truly believe that a Brink security home security system installer, a person that actually puts the stuff in your house, do I truly believe that she has no security system in her home? To me, that's highly unlikely. Yet she had no security system in her home the morning that law enforcement came there for her missing son. We don't know what they did the night before. We have no clue. We are hearing a lot of weird stuff from the Baris socks being near the school the morning that Katie was driving around. We definitely saw this light source that looked like it shot from the back of the Proudfoot home into the other community, where it just so happens that a dog scent apparently ended as if Sebastian got into a vehicle and left the area. So we have all these issues coming in that we understand what those issues mean. However, we got some issues, right? And now the next thing is, do they have cameras? I truly believe they did have cameras. I find it awfully suspect that shortly after this happened, they didn't have any security system, but we wake up one morning and all of a sudden the security system's back at the house. I don't believe them. I don't believe that they don't have any kind of surveillance or security. So let's listen. There's still some more stuff here in this Nina interview. I think the most important was even the mother, the ex-wife of Christopher Proudfoot, that sends her daughter over to Chris and Katie's house, Faith, believes that this family has security systems. So where did the security system go from the time Sebastian disappeared to the time that they called law enforcement to come out to the house? Where did it go? Because let's face it, she did have a Brinks truck out there, right? It's probably filled with a bunch of supplies, a bunch of tools, and all of the equipment to install a system as well as uninstall a system. Truck right out there sitting in her yard. Guess what? That truck is still out there sitting in her front yard. Then we have the message from Brett Baris. You guys know who Brett Baris is? He's the guy that's been really boots on the ground. He's a mainstream media guy. You guys know how I feel about mainstream media. Not always a fan of mainstream media, but I'm always a fan of media. I'm always a fan of anybody that does the right thing, that don't mind stepping on toes, because I feel like that's the problem in our mainstream media anymore. There's no freedom of the press. They bow down to governmental agencies, to law enforcement. They don't tell the people what they want to know anymore. They tell them what they want them to know. They drive the narrative they want to have, and I hate that about mainstream media. So when I do find good reporters, good investigative reporters that don't mind stepping on toes or pissing off law enforcement or pissing off a politician, I'm all for that, right? And that's the way I feel like this Nick Baris is. I feel like he's shaking the tree, like he's not letting law enforcement off the hook, and I love that. That's the type of mainstream media that we need to bring back in the country. I'm sorry, it just is. So Nick Baris, one of the things he said that I thought was very interesting, like I said, I'm on everything, I cover everything, and this is what I found out. No one is cleared, and the focus remains, listen to this, and the focus remains on the possibility of foul play. The focus remains on the possibility of foul play. Not that the boy walked out of his house, not that the boy was abducted, not that the boy had an accident. It remains on the possibility of foul play. So one of the interviews that Nick Baris had was with law enforcement, and law enforcement is obviously pretty highly upset with him because, let's be honest, he is super curious if Olivia thought they acted sus in person. Ashley, to be honest with you, she said they were the nicest people in the world. She said she would have never had a clue that they were the nicest people in the world. She didn't even know I was covering the case. And when I saw her interview, I called Olivia immediately. I said, Olivia, holy crap. She goes, what? I said, they lied in your interview. She goes, what do you mean they lied in my interview? I said, you need to go back and look at the last two interviews they did. I said, they've added an aunt and two cousins, or two aunts and a cousin. And I said, and she added driving to the around the block and to the school in your interview. And she goes, what? I said, yeah. She goes, well, I didn't really know too much about the case. I just was in the town for Riley Strain, and somebody told me that this family really needed help getting their because Olivia's come on, it's Olivia, right? She's like the sweetest person in the freaking world. Her heart is bigger than the earth, okay? This girl has got the biggest heart ever. And so she just wants to help, so she goes in their house not thinking that they could possibly be, a person of interest. They had this beautiful home. They were so welcoming, so nice to her and mom. I asked her because we kind of have a tinge that, Chris seemed prejudiced, like racist a little bit because of the whole hip hop thing. So I asked Olivia about that. I said, how did you and mom, did mom feel uncomfortable there? And she's like, no, mom got like no vibe. And I'm like, And if you know anything about mom's got this like sixth sense, almost like psychic. I'm about to say psychopath. Mom, don't kill me if Olivia sees it. She's going to smack me, right? But she has like this sixth sense about everything. That's why we love working with mom, because mom just, you talk to her, we get her insight from her. She's awesome. But, as far as acting sus, Olivia got no vibes and mom got no vibes, which is, they're very well skilled at making people believe they're this great family. I can tell you that. But that was, I asked her. So it's kind of funny that you asked that, but I did ask her, and that's what I found out. So we have, the Nick Baris basically saying that law enforcement is looking at this as the possibility of foul play. It remains the main focus. You see what I'm saying? Not the abduction, not the walking out of the house, but what remains the main focus is this possibility of abduction. So I started going through a bunch of stuff. And one of the things I found was from a Burton Staggs on Twitter. And it says, wait. So the move of custody from Sebastian Rogers from mom to dad in a few days was never official. Seth and CP were working on it. CP was working to get KP to agree, ? Because we heard Seth say that it was Chris that approached him about taking Sebastian, that Chris basically told Seth that Sebastian's causing marital problems in his home and he needs this perv out of his house because he believes he's going to harm Faith and it's causing them great contention inside their home. Seth says, okay, I'll take Sebastian. I'll go get him enrolled in school. No problem. And so everybody just assumed that it was Chris that took the reins to talk to Seth about this on behalf of Katie. What if he didn't? What if he made the decision for the family to reach out to Seth so he could take the son and then tell Katie later, look, Sebastian's got to go. I've got my daughter coming in. I've already talked to Chris or Seth. He's taking him. He's leaving tomorrow. What if Katie never approved that? What if? I don't know. I don't know. We need to look at that angle because we have no proof that Katie even knew that Seth and Chris were talking about Seth getting Sebastian full-time. So I started going over, I don't know if you guys know this, but TBI actually has a website designated for Sebastian Rogers. I type in TBI Sebastian Rogers. It brings me to the TBI website. They have a lot of Q&A type of things that can help guide, because I wanted to go there and see what have they said that they have done as far as searching, as far as anything. One of the very first things I search in here is forensics. Forensics, DNA, I'm going through the entire page to see if there has been forensics done. There is 0 out of 0 results for forensics or DNA. So that implies that they have not done any type of forensics, but yet they're telling Nick Baris, law enforcement's telling Nick Baris that unless they can show that a crime was committed, this is going to stay in a non-criminal investigation because there's no proof of a crime being committed, basically. That's what they're saying. Well, how do you know a crime has been committed inside a house when you refuse to even do the bare minimum of forensic testing? And then we come across something else that really ticks me off. And they write here, with the help from the FBI, vehicles that were placed in the area at or around the time of Sebastian's disappearance have been accounted for. What in the world does that mean? The cars have been accounted for? Not that I talked to the owners of the car, not that we searched the car for Sebastian, not that we had our canines go in there to see if there was any kind of cadaver hit. None of that, just that they were in place. What did they do? Go up and down the street and count the cars and say, we got 10 cars, Sheriff, and we know who they belong to. And we got 10 cars in these films, so all the cars are accounted for. What does that mean? I don't like that. Because in this whole statement on TBI, they don't mind telling us that they've got camera footage. They don't mind telling us that they've reviewed that camera footage. They don't mind telling us what types of searches they do. They don't mind telling us they had drones in the area. They don't mind telling us that they had dogs in the areas. They don't mind telling us they had canines in the area. They don't mind telling us that they had divers in the area. But for some reason, when it comes down to the cars, it seems like they're just accounted for. Problem for me. These are things that I look at and certain language, because I know how specific law enforcement is in crafting these statements. They work very hard to do word salad, where it has the appearance of giving you information without giving you information. This is a strategy law enforcement has mastered. But for me, I've also mastered the BS myself. So I can tell word salad from law enforcement a mile away. This is word salad. What does that mean? We don't know. This is some other stuff that they searched. Numerous warrants have been executed. Cell phone data has been analyzed, and any other available digital evidence has been collected, searched, and documented. Information was collected from Sebastian's gaming system and has been analyzed. One of the things that I'm seeing in this stuff from TBI that doesn't say, in addition to the forensics and DNA, is the automobile data. That is important. That is key. And that is what's missing from this information. So now we have DNA, forensics. What does it mean about the cars being accounted for? And now we have everything being analyzed, but no vehicle analysis, according to law enforcement's statement. Here's another one from is this the one for, no, that's for the girls. We're not going into that just yet. And I received some things. Do I have anybody in Jackson? If anybody is in Jackson, Tennessee, I need your help. We have a lead on something that's a little concerning. I've got the coordinates, and I don't want to put anybody out, but I need somebody to go by and check this coordinates out, because there was something that came up in the satellite imagery that we're just a little uncomfortable with. It may very well be a nothing burger. That's why I want somebody that's close to the area, not having to drive out of their way to go check this out. If that's the case and you are in the area, in the Jackson, Tennessee area, please reach out to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com. That's bullhornbetty@gmail.com. I definitely want to send somebody out to a specific location that I have. I also want to thank all the beautiful people that have been sending me and dedicating their time to send me information about this case. I have been asking people to help send me some information of places they feel. I'm going to be out there on the 21st of February. Rain or shine, Bullhorn Betty's boots are going to be hitting the ground in Tennessee. I've got 4 cases out there. I'm going to be starting out with the Sebastian Rogers case. And so I came here and I have asked people, to help me eliminate some areas or think of some areas to really search, because I don't want to waste my time when I'm out there. It's just the one thing we don't have to waste. We've got to try to identify, areas of, that law enforcement has already been in, so we can avoid those areas. I don't want to duplicate work. Again, I don't want to waste my time. And so there's been a lot of beautiful people that have really been, going to the maps, looking at them, analyzing them, and providing their opinion of what location might be prime for searching. And we've got more areas to search, which I'm very, very, very thankful for. So I'm going to tell my audience one of those areas that have come up. Now, we don't know if it holds water, and that's why I'm throwing it out there, because I know I've got beautiful people all over that are searching. We got a man that I didn't even realize is up and down the I-40 corridor right now, stopping in and searching. Guys, this is what social media is about. You guys don't understand. Me personally, Chronicles of Olivia and JLR, when we first came out, we were beat up, a lot from the Gabby Petito case, them not understanding why we do the things that we do, why we fight so hard for these cases, why we get out there, why we search. And, we talked about it. We've been really promoting that for like 3 years. And when I saw for the first time all the beautiful social media people getting off their butts, getting out of their house and really going out to make a difference and help another person, I feel like it was something that Chronicles of Olivia, JLR, and I started 3 years ago. And just to see the fruits of those labors being, now it's amazing, because, now we don't get hated on as much as we once did, right? Because everybody's doing it, right? And I love it because it's helping people understand what's going on in the case. It's getting people out there. And look at this. I've been talking about this I-40 corridor and how somebody needs to be going up and down there. It doesn't really matter where you're from in Tennessee. If you're anywhere between Nashville and Memphis, we need you. And just go out there to the I-40 corridor, get your own groups, and start clearing areas. That's what we really need to happen, because he could literally be anywhere. And so it's just nice, because every single day I'm finding a new creator that's actually out there, boots on the ground, searching. Do you understand that is a gift from God? Because once upon a time, that kind of shit just didn't happen. We listened to these stories on the news and nobody would help. People sat on their hands and did absolutely nothing and left it to everybody else. Now it's a change. Everybody else is getting involved. It's a nice change. And you know what? It's a change that's going to help all of these cases. Think about how many cases so far have been solved by social media, including Gabby Petito, Red, White, and Bethune. Gabby Petito, I truly believe, would have never been brought home or been able to rest at peace without social media. I think she would have been out there, and it would have been years, if not decades, before they ever found her bones. I truly believe that. social media makes a difference. We do good work. And I think we get a lot of beating up on by politicians because we don't listen to them. When they tell us to cover a story, we believe it is our right. We have a constitutional right to get the information out there. We're sick and tired of us being coddled. I'm sick and tired of news organizations telling me what information I'm allowed to have or allowed to know. This is a constitutional right in this country for freedom of press. And if people are offended by the news, don't watch it. Because let me tell you, it's an ugly world out there. It's a disgusting world out there. And I'm sick of sheltering people from it. I'm sick of it. It's not helping. They need to know what's going on out there because they need to be safe. This is a crazy world. And I'm sick and tired of people having this veil of security when they don't have any because they're being lied to. And I truly believe that. I truly believe a lot of these times we're being told what to think or how to think and not, you know what I'm saying? Like we need to be able to make our own mind up about what's going on. I don't want the narrative of somebody else, just like you guys don't want the narrative of me. So I always tell you when I'm biased so you can make your own decision because there is reporting of mine that will be absolutely biased because I know information. It's kind of hard to be unbiased when you have information. Like I believe Chris Proudfoot is guilty of sin. All of my commentary is going to be biased because I think Chris Proudfoot is guilty of sin. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I don't know where everybody says that at journalism, you're not allowed to have an opinion. The hell you're not. The hell you're not. So we've got all these things going on. We've got maps. We're looking at everything. And so there's a lot of things that keep coming up, like the Yogi Bear Campground. Everybody's saying that there's a lake near the Yogi Bear Campground. Has anybody searched for that? And I keep thinking, like, why are they in Mississippi? Why aren't they here? Why are they running off to this campground? And I'm like, is this for extradition? Is this to cause an additional problem whenever they're arrested because they're in a different state and then they have to go through the process of extradition and stuff like this? Like, what's the purpose of them being in Mississippi? Out of all the places that they could possibly be, why Mississippi? It doesn't seem like Chris Proudfoot is working, but I think that is changing because we learned that he unhooked the camper from his truck. And that implies that he's no longer going to be driving around with Katie Proudfoot. So that means that she's most likely going to be there while he goes to work because now they have to have two vehicles as opposed to one because the camper was hooked up to the truck and they had the SUV to do whatever. And it looks like they have unhooked this. So there is that. And then there's this one other thing. It says, so the interview with Seth was telling about CP and KP make Sebastian wear diapers. What time did she put the diapers on him? And did she think to check it at any time? So it comes back to the whole thing because we're trying to figure out, where are the clothes he came from the Texas Roadhouse in? His mom and stepdad had no problem humiliating this boy by telling everybody that he has to all of a sudden start wearing these diapers again, right? So the question is you know what? Katie says he went to bed at 9 o'clock. Did she make sure he had the diapers on that he needed to have on when he was getting ready for bed? Because many people say that she has not been able to produce those clothes that he was at the Texas Roadhouse in. I don't know whether that's true or not. I don't want to imply one way or another because I truly don't know. Were those turned in? Were they not turned in? But this makes a valid point. It was the Proudfoots that talked about him having to wear this diaper that he was starting to wet the bed again. And a lot of people that know anything about abuse, when you are dealing with little children and stuff like that, if a child is potty trained and then all of a sudden starts wetting themselves, it typically is a sign of some sort of abuse. I usually equate it to a type of S abuse, an SA type of abuse. But it's not always the case. It can be from just regular old-fashioned abuse. And so every time I hear that, and I heard that he was out of diapers and didn't have any accidents or anything like that for a really long time, and then boom, all of a sudden it's starting again, that to me is almost a telltale sign personally, just for me. Is almost a telltale sign of Sebastian being abused and him not dealing with the abuse. Even Seth said He didn't have that problem with Sebastian. You know, he really didn't have that problem with Sebastian at all when it came to the potty training and stuff while he was at his house. So I just thought these things are really, really interesting. Do they really help us find Sebastian? Not really, but I think it's really helping us clarify what's going on behind the scenes. And I think us as people and invested people into this story, I think we're naturally curious with the background information. I think that information is critical because we're all trying to figure out how did we get here? Let's see here. Or the punishment. See the video. Okay, Angela, I will. Let me go up here and just, I'll pull some, if I don't get to you, if you guys want to drop some questions down, I'll take a few minutes and try to answer what I can. I don't know answers to a lot, just like everybody else. I have about as much information as everybody else. But for those that are a little lost, I'll try to correct you a little bit. The clothes from the Texas warehouse were accounted for, I thought. Yeah, that's what we keep saying, but everybody keeps saying they aren't. And there's a reason why, because we got a lot of people that have contact with Seth. So for this to be going around the way it is, everybody's demanding those clothes be produced on YouTube. So I'm like, they must not have produced them. I don't know one way or another if they did. But, you know, maybe if law enforcement would give us a press conference and give us a little bit of information and opportunity to ask these questions, maybe we could ask them. But they're too busy saying, hey, we need the public's help, but hey, get the hell out of my case. It doesn't make sense. You know, at times I feel like I'm dealing with Barney Fife out there, and it's sad to say because I believe that the sheriff is truly doing the best he can. I don't like TBI. Anytime TBI is involved in any case, I roll my eyes. I will not lie to you. I used to think TBI was the saving grace until I saw what they did in the Summer Wells case. And yeah, they worked their ass off, but they dropped the ball. They're not building a case for, low-hanging fruit and getting these animals off the street. And I'm just getting sick and tired of the drumbeat that as long as you hide your child's body really well, you don't have to worry about being held accountable in the state of Tennessee. So if you guys feel like going out and unaliving your kids, you might want to become a resident of Tennessee because it seems like they have a palate for that as opposed to the rest of the country. So, yes, I'm being sarcastic, but I want to bring in a point because I know that law enforcement watches me more than anybody else, or just about as much as anybody else, because they never know what I'm going to do. And that does affect their case because they don't know if I'm coming in, because they can't stop me. Okay, that's the bottom line. People are like, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Because I follow the law. Our law enforcement can't touch me. They can't. They literally cannot touch me. I'm on public property. I'm raising my voice. I'm hurting absolutely nobody. But it's also somebody because I throw that case out there. When I'm out there on the scene, I throw out every detail of information that I have to get inside those people's heads. And so, there's just nothing that they can do. They can try to do ordinances and stuff like that, but they know that's fruitless and it's just going to get them into a civil lawsuit with me anyway. So they just kind of leave me alone. They don't like me sometimes when I start getting like that. But law enforcement, I've talked to many sheriffs, they're not going to violate my rights. They know better than that. But again, I know that they follow me because they know when I come in here, we kind of bring in the cavalry, I'm not going into this community to do that. When I go into this community, I execute it well and I call law enforcement. I want to make sure I'm safe and the people that I've got out there are safe, as well as law enforcement. I never want to jeopardize anybody's safety. So I always do extra precautions. And if you call law enforcement, I can promise you that they have not received a call from Bullhorn Betty that I'm going to be out there with some shenanigans. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. We're truly out there to search for this young boy, but I know why law enforcement watches my channel. But it is what it is. I think that we need more people out there. And so I'm just going to say this to TBI because I know they watch. I'm sick and tired of people being able to hide a body, and that's okay. They didn't screw up the Summer Wells case. They just gave up on the Summer Wells case. They could have built a case to put that Dawn and Candace behind bars for all the low-hanging fruit, the child neglect, the child endangerment, the failure to properly keep them, get them medical attention and stuff like that. There's so much stuff there that I feel like Tennessee let the statutes of limitations run out and aren't ever going to charge them with that. I don't like the state of Tennessee when you consistently allow parents to abuse and unalive their children, and you sit on your hands and do absolutely nothing to get them behind bars on other charges, I have no time for you. I think that is poor policing. And if I think that's poor policing, I'm not going to give them an attaboy. Okay, it's just not going to happen. I'm not giving them the attaboy. TBI doesn't deserve the attaboy. You know when you deserve the attaboy? Either bring the charges or bring the babies home. Take your pick. But you don't get to say, oh, we're not bringing them home and we're not charging anybody. We're sick and tired of hearing that. I don't care what they need to do to change their laws to catch up with the rest of the country so they can have no body charges. I'm sorry, circumstantial evidence is evidence. They need to learn how to argue it. This day and age, when I hear a state prosecutor say, well, I don't have a body. You know, we never know what's going to happen. It's not a slam dunk. You're right. There is not a freaking case out there that's a slam dunk. But you know what you do? You try. You try. And they're like, double jeopardy, double jeopardy, double jeopardy. We could charge them in another 20 years. I'm sorry. I'd rather you charge them and get them on. Don't charge them with the crimes. Most of these people that harm their children have a litany of charges that they can be going to jail for right now, of things that have the statute of limitations haven't run out on. Those are the things that they need to be throwing these people in jail for right now, just to get them behind bars and off the streets. Every time they leave these people on the streets, they're causing damage to the case by tampering with witnesses, tampering with evidence, obstructing justice. They never get charged with any of that either. I don't like TBI. I think TBI I think they need to call, like literally, I think TBI needs to call Grady Judd and say, Grady Judd, send us your best trainers. We need to go back to school. We need to go back to school. I'm happy to loan Tennessee our Grady Judd to get their stuff right. But they need to start reaching out and finding out how people that have low crime rates and low, like, I think Grady has one of the best homicide close rates in our state. That's the person TBI needs to be coming and talking to and getting education from. I'm sorry, it just is. And I'm not trying to toot Florida's horn, you know, because, I mean, Grady Judd, in all fairness, is not my sheriff. I'd love Grady Judd to be my sheriff. I got Rick Wells. I thought he was a great sheriff. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but he himself has pissed me off. I'm very involved in my community. I know all of my politicians by their first name, and believe me, they all know me by my first name. I can tell you that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I try not to pee or poop in my own backyard, but you know, I'm just like everywhere else. You piss me off, I don't care. I'm gonna stand up and speak up. I do that no matter where I go. But we have a lot of problems here. We have a lot of problems with this case, and it all keeps coming back to Chris and Katie. And I just wish TBI would acknowledge it. You know, like I feel like TBI is not acknowledging our major concerns. And what are they doing to find the evidence? Because listen, one thing that my team and I noticed is, you know, out of all these cases, and you guys have been around the block too, because you guys are true crimies, right? You watch us because you want to know this information. It's interesting to you watching us go out there in these cases and taking you guys for a ride. It interests you. But the one thing we've noticed in this case that usually we have a little different is, you know, we don't have that huge push of Katie and Chris's friends coming out and saying there's no possibility of them being able to do this. We don't have, you know, like when we were out in front of Quentin Simon's house, and this is what I said, you know, and granted, I don't like being almost ran over by people, but you know, let me explain it to you. So when we were out Quentin Simon's case, this is a little 20-month-old boy that was brutalized by his mother up until the date of his death. And law enforcement named her a person of interest. She threw her child into the dump. They had to go find him in the dump. They did successfully find Quentin, and she was ultimately arrested. But they had her as a person of interest and had enough evidence to put her away months before she was actually arrested. And so we were out there in front of their house protesting law enforcement to lock her up. And, you know, BJ, her mother, had friends. Well, her friends try to run us over out there, right? I mean, you gotta love your friends. I mean, you know, we all got our ride and dies, okay? And granted, it pissed me off that her friend's trying to run us over, but damn, what a great friend, right? Like, what a great friend, okay? I know great friends when I see them, and when you start trying to run people over for your BFF, that's a pretty good friend, okay? I'm sorry, it just is, okay? Don't hate me. Don't hate me because I say it. But seriously, right? We have our ride and dies. We would love to have a friend that will get behind their pickup truck, get in it, and bulldoze some people over if they're hurting our friends' feelings, right? That is a friend right there, right? Let's be honest, okay? I could analyze this. I didn't want to get ran over, but damn, what a good friend, right? And so I'm thinking, where are Chris and Katie's friends? Where are the people that are ready to get in their pickup truck and run us over? You know, where are they? Do they have friends? Do they have friends like that? And if they don't, why? You see what I'm saying? Like, I know I got a friend that'll get in a pickup truck, right? You got a friend that'll get there in that pickup truck, right? So, you know, granted, I don't like being run over. Don't get me wrong with what my messaging is. I'm just making a point that it's like, damn, where are their friends? Like, you know, even BJ in the Quentin Simon case had a BFF that was willing to get in the truck and light the road up. Where are their friends? Where are their friends? So I thought that was a little bit odd. I know you guys got a kick out of my story, but it's a true story. Like, I got stories like this all day long. And I can acknowledge a good friend when I see one, okay? It almost lost me my life. I'm just joking. She wanted to scare us. She wasn't going to hit us. But I always worry, you know, what happens if they lose control, you know? But I just think that's a good friend. I just think that's a good friend. And I don't see those type of good friends in Chris and Katie's life right now. So I'll get that truck, buddy. There you go. There you go, guys. All right, guys, it has been wonderful. I hope you have an amazing Saturday. God bless each and every one of you. I hope you guys are getting a little bit of tidbit of information about the Sebastian Rogers case. The case with the girls out there in Oklahoma and Kansas is not good. They finally acknowledged the girls were shot. They finally acknowledged that there was blood in and around the car. So this is not looking good, guys. And you know, I don't like spreading rumors, but I think this rumor might actually hold water, and it's a very, very highly disturbing. But it might have something to do with pig farms, and that right there really, really, really kind of scares the crap out of me for these girls. But it appears that they're gone. It appears the families are, you know, prepared. Nobody's prepared for this, but I think that they understand that these young ladies aren't coming home. The search efforts are really hard. We've got a few beautiful ladies out there really working their tail end off to help try to find or locate these girls. But if they did make a trip to the pig farm, I can tell you that it's going to be tough. And out here in this area, it wouldn't surprise me, y'all. It just wouldn't. These people are out there, you know, they're kind of wild, wild west. You know, you kind of have to take it when you're out there in desolate areas like that. It's kind of, you're law enforcement. You're everything, right? Because it takes hours, 45 minutes to get anybody out there. So we have those issues in this case, but this looks like it's going to be a very heartbreaking case. It's definitely over the children. I said that from literally day one. That's what the evidence led me to believe. Who actually committed this, I have no idea, but the grandmother scares the crap out of me. Don't think it scares the crap out of me enough not to cuss her ass out if I see her. But she seems like she has no problem hurting people. And, you know, I actually asked my team this last night. I said, well, it makes you wonder how many more other people they've done this to that we don't know about, because somebody is saying that there's a lot of accidents that go unsolved out there. So I don't know. I may go out there. I may be a little too chicken S-H-I-T, right? To dip out there because, you know, I do have... I get concerned because I'm one of those people, you know, I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof at times, you know, and I know that there's always a Billy Badass bigger than you, right? But it doesn't really matter because if I don't like you, I'm going to tell you to F off anyways, right? That's just my personality, you know, I don't have a problem. I can tell you to go F off very, very politely, and I can also do it where it makes you want to cry and go home to your mama. But at the end of the day, I can get concerned with my own inability to control this, right? So I know that. And if I know that, then I take precautions. And this is one of those things where I'm like, should I go out there? Should I not go out there? Can you imagine me and grandma, her lying to me or her saying something snooty to me? Yeah, it's all over but the crime, you know, and I don't have any weapons out there. They're probably going to be feeding Bullhorn Betty to the pigs soon. You know, I'll be sleeping with, So I just worry about those types of things. I don't like those people. I think that there's definitely something there. And when I looked at grandma, she and I'm joking about a lot of stuff here, but she does freak me out a little bit. She doesn't look like the nicest person in the world. She looks very devious, in my opinion, and it's got me very, very concerned. We know these two girls are probably already gone. What hand did she have in it? Was she the one that did it? Because you know what, to be honest with you, Veronica was going for full custody. She was going to rip those kids away from that grandmother, and they were having such a contentious time with the separation with Wrangler. I don't think that family would. I don't think Veronica, once she had full custody, was going to allow that family to see them. And I think that that's what they feared. But we don't know. We're letting the story to develop as it's going to develop. But I may go out there at some point. But honestly, the reception out there is horrible. I'm a single female. I need to make sure that I'm safe. And if I can't even call 911, if I'm jammed up, I'm in problems. I can't do that. I have to think of my safety first. So we'll play it by ear and see if I will be making it out there. But right now, we've got a trip that we're going to be going on, and that's going to be for Sebastian Rogers, and that's going to take place on February 21st. So if you guys would like to go out there, if you would like to help, I'll start making sure that you guys know where we're going to be meeting if you want to help out with the search. We are going to make a day over into Mississippi because there is no Bullhorn that's going to work like Bullhorn Betty's. So we're going to be out there with sign waving, and I'll let everybody know when that is. I hope you guys can make it out. We'll give you enough time, so if you need to make arrangements and what have you, you'll have time to do that. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with me this Saturday morning as we discuss the case of Sebastian Rogers. Not a lot of new information out there, but I hope we're trying to at least focus some of the information you are to give you relevance and to give you timing in those things, because we really try to start at the front and work our way down on whatever topic we're talking about on here so you can follow it from beginning to end so we're not popping all over the place for you. And this is just one of the cases where we do believe this is a criminal investigation. I think that they've been doing a dual investigation this entire time. They haven't made the statement that it's gone to a criminal investigation, but I do anticipate those revelations coming out within the next 7 days. I would hope, I presume, I beg. We need to know the direction of this case, and something stinks to high heaven, and we want them to do forensics. How are we going to get them in there to do forensics? They need probable cause. When are they going to have probable cause? I don't know. I think it's probable cause that they said a child walked out the door that nobody has any evidence walked out the damn door. To me, I think that they need to be in there doing forensics. But again, this is the state of Tennessee. Apparently, they don't know how law works. I don't know. Apparently, they don't know how evidence works either. Because, I'm sorry, Nina, guys, listen to this. Nina's story alone would probably give them probable cause. Nina's story alone, if she went down to the police department and signed an affidavit, the stuff that she went through, they could probably pull Chris Proudfoot in on. That Department of Children and Family Services case could be reopened to bring Chris Proudfoot in. When it comes to this type of stuff and low-hanging fruit and getting bad guys off the jail, there's nobody that has more creativity than I. And it's because, but see, their laws are a little different than here in Florida. I know what our laws say. I know how to manipulate our laws. I know how that we can get somebody in jail here in the state of Florida. I would presume it's like that every state, but apparently it's not. And we're learning about the state of Tennessee, and all you got to do for all the parents out there that want to unalive their kids, move to Tennessee. Move to Tennessee. That's pretty sad. But move to Tennessee, because that's the only place you're going to get away with it. And you do get away with it. We got 4 cases. All right, guys, God bless.